Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from today. My name is Courtney Gold. I'm going to be your moderator today for today's webinar. It's going to be New Year, new features in Artifactory. We're super excited to show you everything new we have here at JFrog. Just a few housekeeping items before we get kicked off today. This webinar is being recorded, so don't worry if you miss a piece, want to share it with a coworker. We will be sending this out within 24 hours. Also, as a reminder, you're going to see a Q&A chat window at the very bottom of your screen. Please use that. We have our experts on the call here today. They're more than welcome to answer your questions and want to answer your questions. So please don't be shy. Please put those in. All right, so I'm going to kick it off here. I'm going to just introduce our speakers here really quickly. We have Ben. He is our product manager. We have Evgeny. He's our senior product manager. Eyal. He's our development manager of ecosystem, and Irena, who's a product manager as well. There's some great speakers here today. They joined us here today to kind of go over each piece of Artifactory for us. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of go over a quick agenda for you guys so you kind of understand what's going on, and then I'll kick it off to our speakers. But you're going to see here, this is a quick overview of everything going on for our webinar today. And then at the very tail end, we will be answering your questions, anything you need, but please, during the webinar, we're here to answer them as well. So I know no one wants to listen to me. They rather listen to the speakers, much more interesting than I. So I'm going to kick it off to Irena. Go ahead, Irena, and you can share your screen.
Thank you, Courtney. Hello, everybody. My name is Irena Guy. I am a product manager in JFrog Artifactory team. During the next couple of minutes, I'll introduce you to a new solution by JFrog that will allow you to keep only active and relevant data on the live Artifactory and to move all data that cannot be deleted to a dedicated lower cost storage archive. Artifacts that you will move will still be accessible while archiving period. Following the intro, I'll share with you a quick demo that will help you to understand how you can operate the solution. With more frequent software releases, the output binaries are accumulated fast and create exponential growth of stored outdated materials. In some cases, deleting data that is not in use or outdated is a good enough solution. However, often organizations are required to retain old materials to comply with regulatory requirements or to follow their own internal retention policies. Critical data needs to remain accessible even though it's infrequently used. The growing amount of outdated stored data eventually may cause a degradation in Artifactory performance, and users can start suffer from a poor user experience. So, JFrog Cold Artifact Storage empowers operations to archive outdated data from live Artifactory repositories to a lower cost storage, reducing accumulated artifact clutter and maintaining performance for active data. The archive data that remains to be accessible through a secondary cold instance of Artifactory. Okay, now you will see a quick demo of JFrog Cold Storage solution presented by my colleague Jag.
Welcome to the JFrog Cold Storage demo. Before starting with our demo, let's take a quick look at how cold storage is configured. We can then go into the specifics of how to use it. Cold storage enables you to move artifacts that are not in use from one Artifactory instance to another Artifactory instance that is connected to cost-effective storage. It enables you to define an archiving policy that runs periodically, selects artifacts based on selection criteria, and then moves the artifacts to the cold Artifactory instance. Multiple policies can be created for different use cases. In this demo, we'll show you how to set up an archive policy access information related to your archived artifacts, and restore artifacts as needed. We'll go through an actual archive policy run and then show how restoration works. From the application module of the live Artifactory, you can see that multiple artifacts in different repositories already exist. Switching over to the administration module, you can access your retention policies via the Artifactory menu. Selecting retention policies exposes a menu of all your policies. A policy has already been created, and we can select it to access specifics of this policy. Creating a new policy is done via a similar screen. Here, you can enable or disable the policy, define the policy execution frequency using a cron expression, and maximum execution duration. For example, you can limit policy executions to weekends only. You can also define the resources that should be selected by the policy. These resources can be selected using include and exclude names of specific repositories, path patterns, or artifact name patterns. Other methods for selecting artifacts for archiving are archive age and assigned properties. You can set the duration after which the artifact is deleted from cold storage. Policy execution can be defined based on cron expression and can also be executed manually from the policies list. The status of the policy is shown as it's being executed. From the monitoring page, you can see the current execution and historic execution of all your policies and their completion status. Typically, you'll have a large number of policy runs shown here. Searching for a specific policy execution is facilitated by a time range filter. The monitoring page also shows the storage summary of the archive. Now that our policy run has been completed, we can go back to the application module of the live Artifactory UI and see that the artifacts that were archived have been removed from the live Artifactory. From the search bar, you can conduct an archive search. From here, you can search through the archive, but from within the live Artifactory UI. You don't need to change the context. The search results show the list of artifacts that were previously archived. From the list of archived artifacts, you can select one or more artifacts to restore. You can restore to the original location or specify a new location and execute the restore operation. Returning to the monitoring page, the restoration tab shows the specifics of each restoration, like when it was executed and what was restored. When the restoration is completed, the admin user will get an email notification of the completion. Now you can go back to the application module and see that the artifacts that were previously archived have been restored. All your archive policy operations and information related to your archived artifacts are accessible directly from your live Artifactory, making it easy for you to use cold storage. For more information, please access the documentation.
That was the intro and the demo of our new cold storage solution that will allow you to keep outdated data that cannot be deleted in a dedicated cold Artifactory for many, many years. Thank you very much, everybody. Evgeny, you're next.
Thank you, Irene. Very exciting feature. Definitely, most of our customers will find it very useful for them. The next exciting feature that we would like to share with you is a federated repository. Federated repositories, it's our innovative, fast, and reliable mirroring technology, which we would like to share with you today. And hopefully you'll find it very useful for you as well. So let's start with the problem. What is the challenge that basically we are hearing from our customers? Locality, it's a key capability for continuous delivery, but the majority of our customers are deploy their Artifactory instances in multiple locations, and therefore synchronizing binaries or managing those binaries across those multi-site topologies becomes very challenging. The collaborative development becomes very not straightforward because we need to constantly synchronize the data that the distributed teams are working on. The frequency of this synchronization is pretty high because the velocity of our teams is pretty high, and therefore we need to constantly do that task. Not speaking about the cross-site availability, in case that one site goes down for whatever reason, we should be able to quickly recover and basically keep the same data available across different locations. So this is exactly what the Federated Repository is going to address. So Federated Repositories provides n-directional replication, and by n-directional, I mean you can federate up to 10 different members in the single federation with easy configuration and maintenance. So essentially, we are talking about new type of the repositories, which takes members in different JPDs, or what we call JPDs, JFrog Platform Deployments, and basically encapsulate them under the single roof of what we call federation. The synchronization is done automatically. You don't need to perform any additional configuration over there. And also we support additional features like auto creation of the remote members if they not exist, ability to sync the metadata almost instantly, and the binary content will going to be synchronized either on demand if it is requested by one of the federated members, or via the lazy load that we are also provide here. So with that, I think we should switch to the short demo of the solution, and let me walk you through how exactly it looks like in the real scenario. So let's assume you have a deployment with multiple sites, and in this example, we have 4 different sites located in Sunnyvale, Madrid, Bangalore, or Sydney. Very straightforward and pretty commonly used topology, so to say. And right now we are in the Sunnyvale site, and let's say we would like to create a new repository, a new Docker repository. As you can see, there is a new type of repository which is called Federated Repository. So once created the Federated Repository, it's pretty similar to creation of any other local or remote repo. We need to provide a name, different parameters like layout, exclude, include, pattern, whatsoever. But there is a new tab called Federation. So switching to Federation, this is exactly the place when we are going to create the remote members. As you can see, we have Bangalore, Madrid, and Sydney already listed over there. We can use existing repository or automatically create the same named repository in the different location or remote location in one click of the button. So in our example, we have 4 different members of the same federation. With the save button, the repository is created, and the content and the configuration of that repository is automatically synchronized across all different members. To prove the point, I'm going to deploy in my US instance some Docker image, the Alpine Docker image. The Docker is very small, so it's very fast and pushed into the repository. Now we can see that indeed the image is stored in the local repository, or properly say federated repository in our US instance. Now let's see, or let's observe what happened in different repository. For example, what happens in Madrid. So in Madrid, if we refresh the screen, we can see that the same Docker remote repository is created. So a federated repository is created, and you can see that the Docker image exists already over there. The same goes for our site in Australia, in Sydney, and of course, Bangalore as well. The same way, if I go back to one of the sites, for example, let's pick one in Bangalore, and I would like to modify or delete the artifact, the delete event will be automatically propagated to other sites as well. And we can see that also in Madrid, Sydney, and Sunnyvale, we will see the entire artifact, the binary and metadata is going to be updated, and the content will not be available. So this is a kind of a proof point for bidirectional synchronization of the artifacts, including repository configuration, metadata, and binary content itself. That's the Federated Repository. I hope you are excited about it the same way as we do. This is already available, so please update to latest version of Artifactory, and that feature will be available for Enterprise and Enterprise Plus customers. That's important to mention. Moving to the next agenda, let's talk about the Artifactory for EKS Anywhere, which is another exciting deployment scenario that we are going to support. And this is the partnership of JFrog with AWS via the AWS Amazon Marketplace. And here we are going to talk about hybrid solution for boosting pipelines on the Kubernetes. Amazon EKS, for those folks that doesn't know, stands for Elastic Kubernetes Service, which provided by Amazon Web Services. And EKS Anywhere, it's a new option that basically allows to use the EKS deployment not only in the Amazon cloud, but also in local customer premises. So one-click deployment of JFrog Artifactory using the AWS Marketplace is already available. And the problems that we are trying to address, or the additions that we are bringing to our customers using that solution, is basically provide a seamless user experience. Once you are deploying your Kubernetes cluster, either on-premise, in the cloud, or in even hybrid environment, the deployment of the solution, the JFrog solution, looks completely the same, meaning you are using the same Helm chart, which are optimized for quick start deployment of JFrog Artifactory, regardless of which infrastructure is selected. So that's something that you are getting using the EKS Anywhere, being able to execute it on-premise or in the cloud. And I'm referring to Amazon Cloud, of course, or the hybrid deployment. The second important part or bullet related to EKS Anywhere is the license manager. So for the license manager, there are exciting news over there, because we are adopting for this particular type of deployment AWS license manager component, which is resides in AWS Marketplace as well. And the meaning of that is that you don't need to maintain a separated license key and procurement process for acquiring JFrog licenses. You can use the same AWS Marketplace process for procurement of the licenses for our product as well, as part of the Marketplace offering. And also you have a single focal point or single contact of the managing all the licenses. Like I stated, the deployment is done using simplified Kubernetes management console, exactly the same operations that you are pretty familiar with if you are using EKS already. So this is something that we are going to explore in a short demo. So switching to the demo, we need to go to the portal. And basically in AWS Marketplace, you select JFrog Artifactory EKS Anywhere, and also the particular version. Currently there is only one version, but in the future we are going to add more versions to this deployment, and continue to the launch. Launch is pretty straightforward. You can use either Amazon Managed Kubernetes or self-managed. This is the self-service option, and this is what we are going to focus on. In order to create a license token, remember we are going to interact with AWS License Manager. We need to create a dedicated token using Amazon Marketplace interface, and use that token later on in our deployment scenario. So clicking on the create a token button, we're generating that token, copy that token into our configuration file, download it in CVS file or whatever, and continue to the next step. So the next step is going to tell us how exactly to configure our Kubernetes using the kubectl command line, including different commands like create namespace for Artifactory, adding a service account, tokens, and so on and so forth. All the instructions are listed there. All that you need to do basically is to copy that commands and pass them into the console. And once you completed that operation, basically everything else will be automatically executed. So for instance, I've paused here for the second. You can observe that we already have the cluster up and running, and the cluster includes Artifactory Pro Image, Artifactory Pro Image Nginx as a load balancer, and Postgres SQL database as a database for the Artifactory. So we can monitor the progress of the pods revocation or invocation. Currently, we see that it is already progressing. So after a couple of seconds, basically the pods will be up and running, and we are able to basically to identify what are the cluster's IPs and all the configuration. Everything is done automatically or semi-automatically for the customers that already have some deployment experience using AWS EKS Anywhere. That's completely a seamless environment. We can run a couple of commands to get the status for the pods, just to verify that all the infrastructure is up and running. Okay, so currently we need to wait for a second. I believe it will be completed soon. Once all the pods are up and running, as you can see, Artifactory Pro is up. Let's wait for the load balancer. And once the load balancer is up, basically everything is ready. What we can do now, we can go to our web interface and basically access JFrog platform in the way that we are usually do. But this time, this particular instance of Artifactory is not just running on EKS Anywhere cluster in your on-premise environment, but also using or leveraging the licenses from AWS License Manager. So this is the JFrog Artifactory for EKS Anywhere. It is already available for you using AWS Marketplace. Go and download it from here, start using it, and definitely you will benefit from this slick and slim experience for deploying and managing cloud native infrastructure. That will be all on my side, and thank you for listening. And with that, I would like to pass the mic to Ben, which is going to talk about the new exciting packages that we are going to support in the next release. Ben?
Okay, thank you very much, Evgeny, for this valuable information. I'll take it from here. I want to talk in the next 10 minutes about a very interesting and exciting announcement and feature that we are introducing today. First of all, I'll represent myself. Thank you all for joining. I am Ben. I'm a product manager here at JFrog on the Artifactory team, and I'm responsible for new technologies and support for new package types. As we're going to talk today about the latest release of ours, that is Pod Repositories. That is a very exciting news, something we were working on in the last couple of weeks or even months. Let's start. So as most of you are already probably using apps made by Flutter, even today, whether if you made payments with Google Pay or shop on Alibaba, you likely witnessed the results of Flutter's still comparatively short history. Although Dart and Flutter are pretty new technologies, their adoption is remarkable. And just recently passed even React Native in terms of number of searches on Google and number of stars in GitHub. So it's happening. Just a bit background for those of you who are not familiar with Flutter or Dart technologies and programming language. So Flutter is the Google's open source technology for creating mobile, desktop, and web apps with a single code base. In Stack Overflow ranking of the most popular technologies in 2021, Dart is 7th place behind Julia, for example. So it's a very, very popular and is rising in ratings. This is not also surprising because as Flutter is Dart-based UI toolkit for platform agnostic development and had a notable contribution in increasing during 2021. Yeah, it's clear that companies of all sizes are using today Flutter, from enterprises to lean startups, even with one engineer benefits from Flutter today, developing their web apps, mobile apps, and so on. And we also see a lot of automobile companies that are getting in and using Flutter for their vehicles and new technologies introducing via their businesses. All right, next slide. We're going to talk about our feature. So today, powered by new pub repositories, users can publish and consume in-house created packages across the organization with a single endpoint configured. Use local repositories to upload packages, to consume them across projects, and so on. Of course, leveraging the virtual repository setup is one of the most powerful capabilities we have also on the other package types, and today on pub as well. So using your virtual repository to fetch pub dependencies and plugins automatically will be downloaded by triggering just a fetch request for a specific package or for a specific project created. Cached artifacts will be always available, of course. As you know, from our other technologies or repo types, while fetching your own created packages or dependencies, the Artifactory caching mechanism will assure the availability of the same binaries across multiple repositories and projects inside your organization. Using this setup, it's so easy to work once. You don't need to repeat yourself creating an internal created widgets, for example. When using the very same widget on a separate project, I can consume the very same widget several times, and when needed, will update the widget only once, affecting all products at the same time. And this is probably one of the most powerful capabilities we're introducing together with this new pod type. Yeah, Pub repositories also support the non-permission models of ours, which means we have developing for the last couple of years and keep maintaining it to enable you with the more powerful and higher resolution of management and security assurance for all user flows inside your platform. So creating the right permission model suited per the team, group level, and so on will help you reduce override mistakes, compliance glitches, and to create the right hierarchical management to make sure that you know exactly who can get what. Last but not least, work with our Artifactory projects to manage your Dart and Flutter developers. Create the right logical participation for your own packages. Decide which package will be consumed, which team, and so on, will help you to manage your projects on a very sensitive level and to allow and to reduce mistakes, actually. Very important point. Our repositories are compatible with the 2.15.1 versions of the client and above. And make sure you are having 2.15 and 1 above to have the new authentication capabilities introduced with this version of the client. And also one important note that is the client requires, of course, HTTPS protocols, which means that right now users need to adopt HTTPS protocols for the Artifactory installation as well. That's it from the perspective of the new feature and some very important technical limitations. Let's switch gears and move on to the next one. over here, I'm going to present a very short demo of how I'm creating new repositories, how I'm setting them up in the client, how I'm using a project I created, Dart project, of course, and how I'm involving Artifactory in the flow, uploading my project, consuming projects, and so on. Yeah, so I'm going to increase the screen. So over here we can see that I'm creating in the regular flow the local repo of pub, the new symbol. You can see from the set me app section. I'll get the right naming for this repo. Yeah, I'm going to create it. Next, I'm going to get a new remote repo to have the full capability of leveraging my setup, managing binaries and packages for pub, together with the remote pointing at the part.lang org. I'll get my dependencies, needed packages, and I can proxy pretty much everything, as we know from other setups. I'm going right now to create the last one is the virtual, of course. Also to give it the right naming, to include both the resources that we created just previously, the local and the remote repository. And I'm going to set default deployment repository mechanism to make sure I'm uploading and downloading from the right repository when I'm pointing at the virtual repo. Yeah, so I think we ended this first part, and right now we're moving to the next one, which is the setup of the client and my Artifactory with the client. So first of all, I'm going to set up the client and to get my new created token from my edit profile menu. Just unlock my profile. I'm going to create a new token, copy it, and of course to insert it, to provide it within the client in order to have it for all needed flows. In every single request between the client and my Artifactory, the same token will be used in order to have the authentication level. So we had the first part. We're going right now to configure the right endpoint inside the client. We are getting the virtual repository, of course. Yeah, and we're good to go. Moving into my just created fresh Dart project. As you can see, I'm going to give it the right version. Let's set a very low one, 100. I'm going to use some dependencies, pedantic, just for the sake of this demo. And of course, right after, I'm going to upload this this new project inside my Artifactory. So I'm going to run the publish command. Okay, I think we got it done. Going back to my instance, and as you can see, if you're at the virtual repository and under the right file and folder, I can see my just fresh created project. I can see also the .json file, and I can even browse it via the local repository, and to have more information about my .json file, I'm going to view it. As you can see over here, you can get all the needed information, dependencies, version, of course, the dependencies that are included in this project, and so on. Very useful. I love it. Okay, I think we done on this part, and we can go on and see as well that the dependency that is fetched during the process. So actually, we did two things at once. Also uploaded my new created project and fetched a dependency via the known registry. Right now, I'm going to fetch my own project and to increase the version of my project to project version number 2, and added a dependency of the older version of my project. I'm going to run the same command. I'm going to consume actually my newest package, if you will. And I can see right here that I have now two dependencies. That is first my Dart, that is the older project of mine, and the pedantic, that was my originally dependency used previously. Yeah, I think that's about it for today. I want to thank you again for joining, and looking forward to telling you about more cool stuff we're going to introduce in the next couple of weeks. I think I'm going to hand over to Eyal and to take it from here. Eyal, go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Ben. That was really interesting. My name is Eyal. I'm running the ecosystem engineering inside JFrog, and I'm going to show you today what's new in JFrog CLI, mostly things that are related to Artifactory. So let's get started. All right, so we did quite a few things, added quite a new things this year in JFrog CLI. First of all, we released JFrog CLI v2. It's a major version which changes a lot of things inside JFrog CLI. The reason why we released this as a major version is because many of the commands were improved there. We simplified the syntax. We took the time to make improvements inside the code and practically make JFrog CLI better. So JFrog CLI v2 is available. You can move and migrate to v2 at your own time. JFrog CLI v2 has its own separate installers or install commands. So we see that many of our customers have already migrated their pipelines or some of them, some of their pipelines and automation to v2. So feel free to do so. V1 is going to stay with us for a very long time, so don't worry. But it's definitely recommended moving into v2 because new functionality in most cases is going to be added into v2 only. So feel free to go to the documentation, find the section discussing the JFrog CLI v2 migration, and use the new commands to migrate. More things that we've added this year is support. We basically extended our containers support. So now, in addition to Docker, Podman and Canico are also supported. And when I'm saying supported, I'm actually mean what I mean is that now JFrog CLI can actually create build info for containers which are published to Artifactory using Podman and using Canico. And this build info, for those of you who are using it or familiar with it, or those who are not, can be used in order to to know exactly what happens during the build. This is the manifest. This is the bill of material that Artifactory is tightly integrated with. It can also be scanned. So we are continuously expanding our support for build info generation. pipenv. It's a Python package manager, is now also supported in addition to pip, which has been supported for a while now. OpenShift is also supported. All of those are new or additional tools that JFrog CLI can now generate build info for. Let's move to the next thing. We have renamed the executable name of JFrog CLI from JFrog to JF. JFrog is naturally still supported, so nothing breaks. But our documentation includes new dedicated install command that will install JFrog CLI with the JF executable for you. And over time, JF is going to be the primary name, the executable name for JFrog CLI. So we encourage people to move from JFrog to JF. If you want to stay with JFrog because your scripts are already included, that's not a problem. You can stay with JFrog, and JFrog is also going to be, you know, we're going to continue supporting it. And in addition to that, we have improved the syntax of most of the package manager related command that JFrog CLI supports: Maven, Gradle, NPM, and also pip and pipenv. Those syntax improvements are aimed at making those commands as similar as possible to the native package manager syntax, so that when you're using them with JFrog CLI, you basically don't need to add any flag or change anything. Just add JF to the beginning of the command, and the command will work and use the pre-configured configuration of Artifactory or the other JFrog products that you're using. So the advantage of using JFrog CLI with the package manager for those who are not using it is that you don't have to worry about the configuration, environment variables, the connection details. JFrog CLI takes care of this configuration for you on your build agents in a secure way. Something new that has been added, we have added a new build scan command. So Artifactory can scan your builds using JFrog X-Ray for a very long time now. And the way that this integration works is, you know, after your build, publish the build info into Artifactory, you can then run a command using JFrog CLI saying, scan this build info for me, and Artifactory will just utilize JFrog X-Ray to scan your build. And now we've added a new command, the JF build scan command, which is a different command. And this command simplified the whole process for you. It does not go through Artifactory anymore to scan your build. It works directly with X-Ray, bypassing Artifactory if you want to use this. And that simplifies things. Troubleshooting is easier. You know, it's just one less hop along the way, which minimizes more the probability of issues. So you know, the same functionality, but you know, more efficient and easier to configure. The Maven, Gradle, and NPM JFrog CLI command now includes a new -- scan command. So while you are building your code, your CI or developers, while they're building their code against Artifactory, actually what happens is that what you can do is to ask those artifacts to be scanned on your local machine before they're deployed. And this is actually great because up until now, you had to have those artifacts in Artifactory, and only once they are there, then JFrog X-Ray would kick in and scan your artifacts. But now you can say, hey, I don't want those artifacts to be deployed to Artifactory before they are verified by JFrog X-Ray. So now, so it's supported for Maven, Gradle, and NPM, and very soon it will be supported for all package managers supported. I also want to mention the new audit functionality. So this is also something that can really improve the security of your code. An audit is a way of taking your source code and very easily and quickly scanning its third-party dependencies, basically all of its dependencies, its direct and indirect transitive dependencies. And then even before your code deploys the artifact to Artifactory, you can get a quick view, very fast, seeing the status of your project in a very nice table inside your terminal. I'm going to show it to you in 2 minutes, just how easy it is, how fast, and how you can make it work. And that's also supported for all package managers. We've added two last things that I'm going to discuss today. We've added AND pattern support. So up until now, when you uploaded generic artifacts to Artifactory, you had the option of using wildcard patterns, like saying, hey, I want to upload all the zip files inside a specific path. So you would just write a wildcard pattern, which includes the wildcard.zip or any complex other wildcard that you would like, or using exclude expressions and everything, all the richness that JFrog CLI has to offer. And now you can also use, in addition to those wildcard patterns, but also AND patterns, which are more, for those of you who are familiar with AND patterns, they are, that you have a slightly different syntax than the wildcard, which allows you to specify a range inside your path or to be more specific. And this comes in addition to regular expressions, which are, I think, supported from day one. And the last thing that I want to talk about before I move on to the quick demo showing the audit functionality, JFrog CLI plugins. So I think around a year ago, we've added to JFrog CLI the functionality of anyone can create plugins for JFrog CLI. So JFrog CLI is now extensible. It's an open source project from day one, and we're happy to see community involvement and contributions to the code base. But we wanted to take it to the next level and allow people to create extensions for JFrog CLI, even without having to contribute code into the core of JFrog CLI. Of course, people are welcome to do it as well. This can come in handy when you want to create your own organizational specific functionality, which you don't want to share with the outside world, or you don't think others will find it interesting. It's something that you really care about. Or alternatively, you can just write something, create cool functionality, and you want the entire world to use, and you want to have your name on it. So this practically allows you to do that and remain, if you'd like, the owner of the code, and that allows you to create a roadmap for it and basically extend the JFrog platform, Artifactory, JFrog CLI to do more than what the actual tool knows how to do today. Let me just show you for a very quick demo of the you actually see right now my terminal. I'm just going to this is actually the code of JFrog CLI, and what I'm going to do right now is just show you the audit functionality. Just see how quick and easy it is to audit this in this specific case. It runs behind the scenes the Go client in order to run a quick scan of my dependencies, and here you can actually see the output. I'm using a very old version of JFrog CLI, so as you can see, it has a high severity vulnerability. And yeah, I think I'm done. Courtney, if we have any questions, I think we can answer.
We sure do. I want to just thank all 4 speakers today. You've been great. So I really appreciate the time. I'll go ahead and share my screen so you guys can take a little bit of a break. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen for everybody. All righty, so I'm going to go ahead and ask some questions for you guys. So hopefully we can do that today. Give me a second here. 1 second. All righty, so this one is, I would say, for Irene. How flexible is the archiving policies artifact selection?
This is a great question. Thank you. So if needed, after defining a form-based archiving policy, where you can define a commonly used artifact selection, you can switch to an AQL mode policy, and then you can define a selection of any artifact within your Artifactory that is supported by AQL. It's a great question, Colin. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, so the next question we have is for Evgeny. How many federations are supported? How many members can each federation have?
Excellent question, probably coming from big enterprise customers, which is concerned by the scale, right? So right now we are supporting up to 10,000 federated repositories per deployment. And for each federation, you can specify up to 10 different members. So if you have a deployment of at least 10 JPDs in different locations, basically that's the higher watermark that we are currently providing. But this is something that we also constantly working and improving. So definitely we are looking for the higher scales in the future.
All righty. Again, I think we have a couple that came in for you, Evgeny, so just be ready. The next question is, what is actually federated? What does it mean? Binary content, metadata, or both?
Yeah, so we are federating a couple of things. First of all, the federated repository configuration itself is federated. So we are providing some consistency and mirroring of the configuration parameters for the repository itself. Metadata is federated instantly. There's a constant stream of the metadata. So any change in the metadata, any change in the properties of the artifacts and so on, this is something that is federated as well. And of course, the binary content is federated using separated workers. And if the binary content required some more time to be federated, for example, if there are significantly bigger images that needs to be propagated to different locations, basically we are managing it via the queuing mechanism. And if somebody is going to request that binary content, it also can be fetched on demand. So that's what we are federating.
Cool. All righty. So the next question we have is, how is the license allocated harvested from AWS License Manager to the running EKS Anywhere instance?
Yeah, a good question, because the harvesting of the licenses is definitely something that our customers are looking for as a kind of way to save costs, right? So with AWS License Manager, we implemented some internal APIs that basically requesting a license, reporting the license consumption, and also the license is returned back to the pool if it is not used. So the license manager is constantly getting some kind of heartbeat from the running instance saying that this license is still in use. And if this heartbeat is not arriving for the predefined or specified time value, then basically the license is automatically returned to the pool, and therefore we are always maintaining the license allocation only for the running instances. So if the instance is not running, the license will be automatically harvested and returned back to the pool. You don't need to proactively do anything in order to manage that. We are going to manage it using that API that we jointly developed with AWS team.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we have time for a couple more questions. So Eyal, I see a couple probably came in for you. How do I choose which JFrog CLI to execute or install?
Okay, so I think that this question refers to the new JF executable that I introduced. So obviously you have your JFrog CLI embedded inside your scripts, and those scripts includes JFrog, and you don't want one morning to have you have your script download the new JF command. So what we did, we actually created a completely new install commands for JF. So you don't have to worry about it. Just migrate gradually when you're ready, and that's okay. And the way to migrate is just go to the JFrog documentation, find the installation command, use the installer that you used. If you used using a Debian installer or RPM, or just download it through curl, just replace it with the new command, and then you will get the JF after you modify the script. So that's how you determine what's actually being downloaded.
Perfect. All right, our last question is, how can I create a JFrog CLI plugin?
Oh, great question. So, if you go to the JFrog document, into the JFrog CLI documentation, and you'll find the section talking about JFrog CLI plugins, you'll get to the instructions. The way to create a JFrog CLI plugin is relatively easy. So a JFrog CLI plugin is an independent Go project. JFrog CLI is written in Go, so the plugins are also Go plugins. And we have a template project that you can use. You just fork this template project through GitHub into your own private GitHub repository. And then inside this template, you can start creating your plugin, your code. You test it locally. And then once you're ready, you have two options. Either go public, and then you can create a pull request to the JFrog CLI plugins registry, which is a public registry. And once your plugin is there, anyone can install it using a JFrog CLI plugin install command. Or you want to say, hey, I want to create my own private JFrog CLI plugin registry, and that is managed using a generic repository Artifactory, and then you have a command to publish your plugin into this private repository, and then only people inside your organization who has access to this Artifactory server can install this plugin. So this is in general the way to do it. If you have any questions, feel free to communicate with us through the JFrog CLI GitHub repository, and we'll be happy to answer any specific question there. But I believe we try to make it as straightforward as possible, and I think it'll be okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was so great, everyone. I appreciate the time that you put into this. And again, everybody on this call, if you do have any further questions beyond the questions we just answered today, please don't hesitate to reach out at webinars@jfrog.com. That's webinars@jfrog.com. That comes directly to me. And then I will determine who from the speakers that can best answer that question for you. So don't stress if you missed a question or missed something or you want more clarification. Please reach out to us. We are here to help. As a reminder, we will be sending out this recording within 24 hours. But other than that, I will sign off. I'll let all the speakers say goodbye today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.